My encounter with Negan at an abandoned hospital. To give a little background, I'm a film student in college right now, and me and my buddies are always trying to find new locations to film our movies at. I make horror films, so all the places I'm looking for and exploring are abandoned. And tonight, me and my group of friends, there were 10 of us total, decided to check out this abandoned hospital down the street from our school. They had been there before and said it was a great spot for filming, and I should check it out. Tonight was that night, so when we get there, I have my Nikon DSLR out with a handheld LED light attached to the top of the camera to scout the place when we get inside. I didn't film any of the encounter because I usually only film the inside of these places. But I had my camera and light out to shine the way through. I was leading the way down this narrow path that led to these walls that we had to climb to get on the roof of the place, where we would access one of the rooms to get inside the building. Because I was carrying my camera and bag, I was trying to look for another way up, so I walk a little further down this narrow path and I start noticing a lot of clothes and random shoes and cardboard boxes lying around the area. There was even an empty sleeping bag. That's when I knew that we probably weren't alone and were likely going to run into someone if we made the wrong move. And boy, did we ever. One of my friends walking behind me down this path notices a door to my right. It's closed, and my guess was that it was locked and not worth trying. But he already has his hand on the door handle and starts tugging. I look over, and it barely cracks open, but something is holding it from the inside. I shine my LED on the inside, and I see a shirt tied to the inside door handle to another part of the room, acting as a lock. But my friend, being the way he is, tugs again and rips that shirt right off, and the door swings open. Inside, there is someone sleeping on like a table or a couch, alongside with a group of terrifying looking people sitting by a light inside that room. And they all stop and stare at us. In the short glimpse that I got, my friend yells, "Oh wait, shit, get the fuck out of here," and slams the door and just bolts past me. I was standing there a little shaken, almost feeling like I should apologize, but I just follow him instead. My other 8 friends are already on the roof at this point, ask what's going on, and we just run for our lives out of the area. I hear the door in the path swing open, but I couldn't look back. From there, me and my friend rendezvous back to a higher part of the area, away from any entrance leading to the hospital. There is a small gap that you could jump across to get to one of the roofs of the buildings that my other friends were on. About 4 of them follow us and jump across, ready to get out of there, but the others stay on the roof and watch us, stuck like statues. I look at them, confused at what they're staring at, and I begin to hear this metal dragging on the concrete. I turn around, and there is a crazy-looking man, maybe mid-20s, dragging a baseball bat with nails all along the end, walking towards us as he drags the bat along the concrete. Acting just like Negan from The Walking Dead. My heart sinks. At this point, I turn off my light and all that's shining is the moonlight. I keep my hand on my pocket knife, desperately trying to think of anything to do if he starts swinging, but I knew there was no way I would come out alive if I tried anything. Plus I gotta take care of my camera, so he walks closer to us and the first thing he says is, "You're gonna wanna keep that light off." And everyone is silent. I am practically shaking. He then starts circling around us as he says, "You guys are never gonna come back here, right?" He walks past me and sees the camera, and raises his bat, saying, "And you're gonna put the fucking camera away," and I just barely say, "Why yeah, it's off." He looks over to my friends watching on the roof, past the gap. And he points to them, and he says, "Jump," and they stand silent. The guy says again, "Fucking jump across right now. Just run and jump, you'll make it. Keep in mind the gap doesn't look that bad. But the drop is fatal if you don't make the jump." And my 4 friends are all staring down at the drop, fearing what could happen. One of them says, "I don't think I can make it." And the Negan guy replies, "Run and jump. Or else you're gonna regret it." So my friend steps back, runs, and barely makes the jump. From there, one by one the other 3 make the jump across. All while the Negan guy is standing right behind us with his bat, dragging it along the concrete. Once we all got across, he says to us, "You're never coming back here again, you understand?" And we awkwardly apologize and run away back to our cars in the distance. I get in my car, and look back at the area, and he's still standing there, watching us with his bat as we speed off. Realistically, we could have probably ganged up on him as a group if anything bad happened, but who knows who else was back there. Sadly, the hospital is a no-go from here on out, but I'll still be looking around for some sick locations. What scared me the most about this was how fearless and disturbed this guy looked. He'd definitely seen some shit and had undoubtedly used that bat before on someone else. He looked like a killer. He was a killer. And it was his calmness that really got to me. Definitely a lesson learned, but regardless, let's not meet again, Negan guy. Visiting an abandoned cottage next to mine didn't end so well. Hello all, I usually visit my family's cottage up north, not going to disclose specifically where for privacy reasons, every summer and on the occasion on July 4th, Thanksgiving etc. It's a waterfront cottage, facing a lake, surrounded by a dense forest. It's located on a private beach, so you see your neighbor every once in a while. Everyone comes up north around the same time, so it wouldn't be uncommon to have a chat with others, and thus, everyone knows each other and subsequently, their business. My cottage sits between two others, one is inhabited quite frequently and one is abandoned, to my knowledge. My family and neighbors know that European family, possibly Polish, German, etc., owns it. I just assume that they hold onto the property to maintain some sort of tangible asset in the United States. Back when I was young, around the ages of 18 to 20, my cousins, brothers, and I would get away from our family to smoke weed in the abandoned cottage to avoid any sort of scolding. It was fun, an empty cottage with some furniture that was a time capsule from the 80s. We would peer around and look at the old brown love seat, the dark den, the main living room adjoining the dining area, and the cute little kitchen with old wine glasses laying around. It was resoundingly acknowledged that others have been through the abandoned cottage as well. There were smoke joints on the ground. Footprints, old beer bottles with modern labels, and furniture was always moved around from one position to another. However, the cottage was never spruced up, it was never cleaned nor organized. So we knew that the owners weren't coming by. It was random explorers, perhaps other teenagers, doing the same thing we did. Upon some curious investigation, we saw a basement. We opened the door and saw a staircase that led to a floor that was pure dirt. It looked like a cellar from what I could see. I stood at the top of the stairs looking down and saw exposed brick. Nothing particularly interesting. Of course we would freak each other out, saying someone lives down there, that there was a serial killer living there, or there was a corpse collection buried under the dirt floors. So, none of us would go down there with our independent conviction. It would have to have been a dare or a display of bravery. One day, around Thanksgiving, 3 girls, and my brother, of us went to the abandoned cottage to go smoke some joints and gossip about family. I don't see my cousins much, only during special occasions, so we sat on the tables in the dining area to smoke, chill and chit-chat. Of course, the topic of the basement came up. We laughed and talked about who would go down there, who would most likely survive the serial killer living beneath us waiting for his next victim to enter his abode. We turned and noticed the basement was unlocked, and this was unusual, since it was always locked. The one occasion where it was unlocked was when we took a look, or one of my brothers would go down there to freak all the girls out and prove his macho, so to speak. We would always lock it afterwards, purely out of the feeling of some sort of reassurance. We chalked it up to other teenagers just like us having visited the cottage before us, and all of us girls made my older brother get up and lock the door. He stood, looked us all up and down, and jokingly said something along the lines of, "You guys are just pussies, always get a man to do the scary thing for you." We laughed, but he was the guy. If there was someone down there, he would be the most likely to defend himself. He's a big guy, 210 pounds, and 6'5". He took maybe 3 steps before there was a knock. It sounded like a knock on a hollow surface. Considering that this cottage was quite old, I thought that it came from the side of the building. I don't think there's any significant insulation that would prevent an audible knock. I instantly looked at my brother, who looked smug. He said, "You know, if you ask me to do something for you, don't fuck with me whilst I'm doing you a favor." I looked around, waiting for one of the 2 other girls, my cousins, to fess up and mock his masculine courage. It seemed like everyone was resoundingly confused, anxious, and waiting for the same thing. I guess my brother saw their reactions and did not see mine, and concluded that I was the source of the suspicious knocker since my back was turned to him. "Very funny, Jenna. You think you are such a joker," my brother said with a chuckle. I turned to him, and I guess he saw my anxious face as well. I guess he could read me well. I thought that maybe him walking on the old floors unsettled some of the structural integrity of the building. Maybe it was one of our parents fucking with us. I didn't think it was from a foreign source. I quipped at him, "Just go and lock the door." He continued walking toward the door, but it opened slightly. He stopped dead in his tracks immediately. "We're going now." "Fuck that fucking door," one of my cousins sternly said. We all got up from sitting on the tables. We gathered our things, including weed, beer bottles, and phones. We quickly ran to the front door, not daring to look back. My brother was the last of the anxious conga line that was created by the bottleneck of the lone exit. I heard significant footsteps coming from the back of the cottage. I thought it was my brother, and I turned back, and I swear to God I saw a hand opening the basement door. "Oh my God," I yelled, "there's someone in the fucking basement." I managed to shakingly say after running down the stairs that led to the front door, "What?" everyone else said. My brother looked back. Holy shit, he held onto the sides of my arms to push me to go faster. "G.O.," we heard a foreign voice say. We ran faster, dropping bottles, pipes, and shoes. We ran so fast that our flip-flops flew off. I knew it wasn't any of us. Not even one of our parents. It was a low, stern voice from afar. My brother was right behind me. We made our escape to our cottage thoroughly flustered and terrified. There was a homeless guy in there. I fucking saw him. My brother, out of breath, managed to say, "I guess it was common knowledge that the place was abandoned. I wouldn't neglect the possibility of someone taking refuge in there." I don't know if the guy went into the basement when he heard us coming, then got tired of sitting on the dirt floor, then scared us. I don't know. It's a private beach, so you would have to know of the specific location to be able to understand how to get there, then also know that there's an abandoned property as well. I also know that there are squatters. To offer a further explanation, people share on Reddit that there are certain locations in our area where you could set up camp on a vacant lot and take a day to sit on the quiet beach. But I know that neighboring properties crack down on it pretty quickly and let them know that they can't settle there. I thought that would have been a good explanation. We ran to our parents after proactively hiding our weed stash. Our priorities are certainly well placed. And told them our story. They called the police and we watched from afar to see what the fuck was going on. I guess the guy left. The police came to us and told us no one was in there, but they let us know to file some sort of report regarding the abandonedness of the cottage. I think there are some sort of laws that demand that the owners should be using the cottage and executing upkeep. None of us really cared for being the Karens of the situation, so we never filed such report. At the end of the day, I understand that some people just want to have assets, whether they're shitty or not. It would suck to lose out on good property in a nice location. I think they might come back one day since our neighbors know of the family. No one else has ever filed a report to my knowledge. I guess the experience didn't shake up my brother too much since he went back and gave me details. He found some dead squirrels and baby raccoons just laying in the living room. He said they looked quite fresh. I think that they died of natural causes, but how do two different species of animals just die in the same place? I asked him if they were mangled or obviously killed in some way, and he said no. He said the baby raccoons had fur. I did some researching and I know that baby raccoons aren't born with fur, so I deduct that they were alive for some time then somehow died in the living room. I don't want to know if something or someone killed them in there. Or maybe killed them in another place and then brought them in there to give some sort of message to any oncoming visitors. I hope it isn't the homeless guy. Never visit abandoned homes. I am a 19-year-old female, and a few years ago, I'd say I was about 16, me and a friend, male, of mine decided to go drive around in the country and look for some cool old houses that are still hanging around. We live in a very small town in Kansas, so we had a ton of country to explore. We had been driving for an hour or so just taking random turns and had found a few houses already. We thought we spotted a building or something in some trees, and as we got closer we discovered it was a small shed, but not too far from the shed was a small run-down house. We pulled up the dirt driveway, and laying in the middle of the driveway was half a carcass of a deer. It was strange, but we lived in Kansas and we were practically in the middle of nowhere, so we figured a mountain lion had gotten it or something. As we came up closer to the house we noticed that there wasn't just one deer. There were probably close to 20 or 30 deer that were half gone just laying in the yard around the house. We got out of the truck and started to walk up to the house, still thinking that it was just some weird coincidence that these deer had all died here. My friend wanted to see the inside of the house, but I wasn't really for that idea, so I stayed outside. I walked around a little bit, but what really made me run for the truck was the hundreds of bones laying in the yard. I mean hundreds. It was so weird and so creepy, and I think I flew back into the truck. As soon as I closed the door, my friend came tearing out of the house as fast as he could with this look of pure terror and disgust on his face. He jumped in, started the truck, and we took off down the road. We got a little farther down the road and he finally looked at me and said that there were dead animals everywhere in that house. I don't know what was going on in there. Maybe some illegal hunting going on or something. Although I don't know why anyone would hunt small animals like skunks, possums. Anyways, it was super creepy and we have never gone poking around abandoned homes again.